The dramatic landscape of present-day Flagstaff, Arizona has long set the stage for human activity and occupation. Settlements developed in the vicinity of the San Francisco Peaks beginning around 650 AD. While these people eventually moved elsewhere, tangible expressions of their persistence remain in the form of Pueblo ruins and petroglyph inscriptions. Today, amidst the milieu of city life and flag, these cultural properties endure as sacred places of the past. Join me today as we explore the archaeology around Flagstaff, Arizona. Sinagua culture spans an area of central Arizona, from the Verde Valley to the San Francisco Peaks of Flagstaff. The name was derived from Spanish explorers, calling the peaks Sierra Sinagua due to a lack of rivers and streams. Despite the name, these people actually had plenty of access to water close to home. The first Sinagua habitation was established by 650 AD, and the culture can be seen as two major factions: Northern Sinagua, who lived in present-day Flagstaff, and Southern, who resided in the Verde Valley. Major northern sites include Wupatki, Walnut Canyon, and Elden Pueblo. To the south are Montezuma's Castle and Tuzigut. These people arrived in the region from east-central Arizona, perhaps branching off from the Mogollon culture. Early sites began as pit house villages, similar to the ones built by the Hohokam of southern Arizona. Later, construction evolved into Pueblo architecture practiced by other contemporaries in the Southwest. For at least 11,000 years, indigenous people lived against the dramatic backdrop of the San Francisco Peaks, following herds of animals and ripening plants. While lower elevations were desirable, especially during the winter months, some people began to stay year-round in the area. In the latter part of the 11th century, eruptions of Sunset Crater, 10 miles northeast of here, as well as a 20-long-year drought, encouraged people to settle the location in the ponderosa pine forest. Families began construction of efficient pit house villages, semi-subterranean dwellings which would have kept cool in the summer and insulated during the winter. These villages worked well for the people, who spent the majority of their day outdoors. Shifting to a reliance on agriculture, more permanent residences began to emerge in the form of pueblos, allowing families to settle comfortably in one place, watch their fields, and not have to constantly move with the seasons. Cultivation was possible along some of the washes, and there is evidence of stone check dams, which would have effectively slowed and retained rainwater in nearby farming plots. Complementing sedentary life, ceramic vessels came into play for cooking food and storage. The communal lifestyle allowed inhabitants to cooperatively watch the children, fields, and elderly. As families grew, additional rooms and even second and third stories were added to the apartment-style villages. Around 1100, the climate in northern Arizona gradually transitioned to wetter, cooler conditions, prompting relocation to lower elevations. Yet some people remained by the San Francisco Peaks. In the protective shadow of Mount Elden, the climate is much milder and consistent here than elsewhere in the Flagstaff area. Two springs, each a few miles away, served as water sources. By 1150, the village here became an important trade center, where goods and ideas were exchanged. Finally, by 1400, most people had moved away to the north and east, joining the emerging Hopi and Zuni cultures. Elden Pueblo, known by the Hopi as Pasiwi, was occupied between 1070 to 1275 AD. The archaeological site today consists of 60 to 70 rooms with interpretation open to the public. This village is known as a place of coming together or a place where decisions were made. The site was named Elden Pueblo in 1926 by Dr. Jesse Walter Fuchs of the Smithsonian Institute for its close proximity to Mount Eldon. Evidence of early pit structures dot the edge of the site, dug into the ground with a central fire pit and 4 corner posts supporting the roof. The roof framework was constructed of poles with split pine shingles laid over them, topped in a layer of rice grass for insulation, then finally covered in a thick layer of mud. Walls of pit houses were covered with plaster or lined with stone. The entry through a hatchway was in the roof, accessed by ladder. About 21 pit houses have been identified here, a few representing the earliest occupation between 1070 to 1100. Pit house living eventually gave way to pueblos, constructed here using basalt and dacite rocks set in a mud mortar, where 5 different masonry styles are utilized. An analysis of these construction techniques suggests people began building pueblo room blocks around 1150. Smaller stones are typical of interior walls that weren't required to bear the weight of heavy roofs. Larger stones, which supported these roofs, were added during an extensive remodeling period, enlarging the pueblo as families expanded and more people joined the community. Grinding slicks in the rock are usually associated with processing seeds, but these particular examples may have been used to shape stone axes. During excavation, 5 axes in a nearby room were found that fit perfectly in these depressions. This may indicate specialized craft production of tools as an important trade item. I found a few utility pottery shards on the surface of the site, but nothing highly decorated. However, during excavation, many artifacts were found, confirming Elden Pueblo as a trade center of the region. Major trade connections extended across the Southwest, bringing shell jewelry from the Gulf of California and Pacific Ocean. Turquoise, mineral pigments, and even scarlet macaws and copper bells from Mesoamerica were found here. The Sinagua seldom made decorated pottery locally, rather obtaining it from the Pueblo people of the Kayenta and Winslow regions to the north and east. Sinagua plainware pottery demonstrated originality in form and appearance, with bowls featuring a brilliant red exterior and highly polished black smudged interior. Elden Pueblo is located in an open ponderosa pine forest, interspersed with patches of cliff rose and gamble oak. Mount Eldon dominates the horizon a half-mile to the west. Over millennia, erosion from its slopes have washed rocks and boulders into the area. These provided building materials for the pueblo, and a golden-colored clay, found in the washes here, furnished mortar and plaster for construction. At the base of Mount Eldon is an exposure of Moncopy sandstone that was used for some of the manos, matates, and grinding slabs found here at the site. Basalt was used for other grinding tools and building material, which probably came from the volcanic cinder cones to the northeast. The ruin sits on a fringe of 2 biological zones, where the rain shadow cast by Mount Eldon creates a milder climate than the surrounding forest, and is more typical of the Pinon juniper zones several miles to the east. The location of Pasiwi was advantageous because from one location, the Sinagua people could exploit resources from 2 different zones. Open forest landscapes sloped down to large alluvial plains supporting an abundance of wildlife, including deer, antelope, mountain sheep, bear, coyote, squirrel, gopher, rabbit, and turkey. During my visit, a friendly horny toad came out from the ruins to see me, basking in the dappled sunlight. From Elden Pueblo, a short drive to Picture Canyon brings you to another important northern Sinagua site. Picture Canyon is named for the high density of petroglyphs located along the river. Hundreds of panels were created depicting birds, celestial objects, geometric shapes, archers, and local wildlife. Some of the depictions remind me of purported supernova inscriptions, such as in Chaco Canyon, recording the Crab Nebula of 1054. Off one of the trails, a Sinagua pit house ruin can be seen by the canyon, one of the earliest habitation structures, like those found at Elden Pueblo. Perhaps the most renowned collection of ruins in the area is at Wupatki. Nestled between the Painted Desert and Ponderosa Highlands, Wupatki is an unlikely landscape for a thriving community. However, the early 1100s marked a time of cooler and wetter weather, where ancestors of contemporary Pueblo communities created a bustling center of trade and culture. The site is known for its blowhole geographic formation and purported ball court. When I first visited, friendly ravens greeted me by the visitor's center. To the southeast of Flag, Walnut Canyon similarly preserves another major northern Sinagua community. People built their homes into the cliffs here, farming along the canyon ridge and taking advantage of natural recessions in the eroded limestone ledges. Today, a park preserves the landscape and the ancestral homes in and around the canyon, where a 1-mile loop provides access to 25 cliff dwellings. Sinagua people flourished in the Flagstaff area for centuries. Ruins and rock art remind us of their presence in the region. These people didn't disappear, rather moved on to leverage new opportunities, while still remembering their ancestral property. Next time you're in Flag, take a few hours of your time to walk through Elden Pueblo and Picture Canyon. Savor a moment of stillness and acknowledge your participation in the sacred landscape. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and join me on our next adventure.